Shri RamaKrishna Namo Namaha. First of all, I offer my humble prayers in the lotus feet of Shri RamaKrishna. I also offer my humble respect to all of you. Today from the book Sayings of Shri Ramakrishna, we will listen about the real nature of a man. The holy words of Swami Shri RamaKrishna on the same are as follows. The digit 1 may be raised to a figure of any value by adding zeros after it, but if that 1 is omitted, zeros by themselves have no value. Similarly, so long as a jiva or individual soul does not cling to God, who is the One, he has no value, for all things here get their value from their connection with God. So long as a jiva clings to God, who is the value-giving figure behind the world, and does all his work for him, he gains more and more. Thereby, on the contrary, if he overlooks God and adds to his work many grand achievements, all done for his own glorification, he will gain nothing therefrom. As a lamp does not burn without oil, so a man cannot live without God. God is to man what a magnet is to iron. Why does he not then attract man? As iron thickly embedded in mud is not moved by the attraction of the magnet, so the soul, thickly embedded in Maya, does not feel the attraction of the Lord. But when the mud is washed away with water, the iron is free to move. Even so, when by the constant tears of prayers and repentance the soul washes away the mud of Maya that compels it to stick to the earth, it is soon attracted by the Lord to himself. The union of Jivatma with the Paramatman is like the union of the hour and the minute hands of a watch once in every hour. They are interrelated and interdependent, and though usually separate, they may become united as often as favorable opportunities occur. The soul enchained is man, but when free from the chain, Maya, it is the Lord. What is the relationship between the Jivatman and the Paramatman? As a current of water seems to be divided into two when a plank of water is placed against it edgewise, so the invisible appears divided into two, the Jivatman and the Paramatman, due to the limitation of Maya. Water and a bubble on it are one and the same. The bubble has its birth in the water, floats on it, and is ultimately dissolved in it. So also the Jivatman and the Paramatman are one and the same, the difference between them being only one of degree. For one is finite and limited, while the other is infinite. One is dependent, while the other is independent. The idea of an individual ego is just like enclosing a portion of the water of the Ganges and calling the enclosed portion one's own Ganges. As a piece of lead thrown into a basin of mercury soon becomes an amalgam with it, so an individual soul loses its limited existence when it falls into the ocean of Brahman. God is the infinite being, while Jiva is only a finite being. How then can the finite grasp the infinite? It is like a doll made of salt trying to fathom the depth of the ocean. In doing so, the salt doll is dissolved into the sea and lost. Similarly, the jiva, in trying to measure God and know Him, loses its separateness and becomes one with Him. The Lord Himself is playing in the form of a man. He is a great juggler, and this phantasmagoria of Jiva and Jagat is His great jugglery. The juggler alone is true, and the jugglery is false. The human body is like a pot and the mind. The intellect and the senses are like water, rice and potato. When you place a pot containing water, rice and potato on fire, they get heated, and if anyone touches them, his finger is burned, even though the heat does not literally belong to the pot or the water or the potato or the rice. Similarly, it is the power of Brahman in man that causes the mind and the intellect and the senses to perform their functions. And when that power ceases to act, these also stop work. Thus concludes today's verses from the book Sayings of Shri RamaKrishna on Real Nature of a Man. Thank you for listening. Shri RamaKrishna Namo Namaha.